Hello, friends, witches, and druids, and welcome back to the Lifi podcast, the pseudo research podcast with a lo-fi beat. Today, we're touching upon the topic of self-help. Popular forms of self-help includes manifesting better thoughts, visiting a therapist, working out, practicing meditation, or performing magic moon rituals with your candles and healing crystals. Yeah, that last one sounds a bit weird, but through my deep dive through the occult of witches, I've learned that most people get into practicing under the witchcraft umbrella of pagans, Wiccans, neo-pagans, and all sorts of other witches is because of the need to take control of their life and manifest better things coming your way, such as money, health, and bitches. I came across the witch community when I was scrolling through TikTok and landed on Witch TikTok, where some retarded 16-year-olds thought they were witches and convinced themselves that they hexed the moon because they got angry at Donald Trump. I don't like Trump, but I don't think I'm a witch. So, naturally, I wanted to find out, are all of these self-proclaimed witches that crazy? Turns out no. They actually have a fondness of doing special moon rituals. Most of these moon rituals seem pretty innocent, to be honest. So, for example, usually on the night of a full moon, a self-proclaimed witch would do some yoga, leave her crystals in a cup of water under the moon so that they would be cleaned, and they might leave out a glass of water under the moonlight so that they could drink it afterwards and get those sweet moon nutrients. And they also like taking hot baths with special salts and essential oils. But the most interesting activities include burning sage, self-reflecting with tarot cards, and writing down your thoughts, feelings, and wishes on a piece of paper and burning it at the end. I used to do this personally while I was a kid during New Year's, and I really do find it magical, even though if it's just burning a piece of paper. So basically, this is one big self-help night, which I appreciate. Chapter 1: Paganism and Religious Tourism. Honestly speaking, I have a pretty nihilistic outlook on life, and I don't need to tell myself that everything happens for a reason to fall asleep at night. I don't believe in gods, and I don't believe in stuff such as astrology. Some gay people do, but I'm not one of those gay people. And I actually think that we're all just horny primates trying to make the most of our limited lives here before we go to the great unknown. Despite my lack of faith, I can't really say that I'm not familiar with paganism. In Lithuania, it's considered the second most popular religion after Christianity, and a lot of our Baltic and Slavic heritage has deep-rooted pagan traditions. So naturally, I and the whole youth of the country have been exposed to it through our natural dance festivals and other Sabbath celebrations. These sites might seem like a midsummer movie to people who have no idea about what we're celebrating, but most of the times, taking part in these traditions is mainly because we think it's fun, we think it's cute to celebrate this old heritage and its unique charm, and not because we believe that some otherworldly force is going to change our life just because we did this. So let's just call this religious tourism, okay? But how can we explain this phenomenon of faithless Gen Z girls and gays frolicking towards a religion when atheism is at an all-time high amongst us? Most of our youth don't believe in anything. So why do these people go the other route? Well, I just think that some people need faith and feel let down by other religions for their mistreatment of women and LGBT folk. Chapter 2: Witches, Feminism, and Pop Culture. To add, I don't know to what extent, but I think that the commodification of witches and the occult in our pop culture through Halloween, which is the holiday of an originally pagan Samhain tradition, probably had something to do with it. On top of that, witches in pop culture usually are portrayed as strong women with their own goals, whether they be good or bad. And the gays and the girls love girl power, hence why they love witches. And this girl power goes even further because in 1893, a suffragette feminist Matilda Jocelyn Gage wrote a book called Women, Church and State, which reframed the European witch hunts from the olden ages, where witches usually were classified as women who didn't want to abide by the Christian Church's definition of how a woman should think, feel, and act. So, if any woman dared to learn how to read, dared to stray from the sexual norm, and so forth, they would be named a witch and yeeted to the fiery pits. Funny enough, the son-in-law of Matilda Jocelyn Gage went on to write Wizard of Oz, one of the most quintessential movies in pop culture defining witchcraft as having good and bad witches. But this is just fiction. Given the fact that in real life there are several types of witchcraft and occult workings, I don't think that every type of witchcraft or occult behavior is ethical. Chapter 3. Am I a witch or just a bitch? So, it just so happens that the freelance work website Fiverr.com is overrun with fake psychics, witches, and spellcasters. And they take great pleasure in scamming gullible or desperate people out of their money by providing bogus services like, I will cast powerful punishment spells on your enemies, starting at $26. I will detect and clean any kind of curse, spell, hex, attachment, and black magic from you, starting at $21. I will cast the powerful spell magic for your financial wellness, starting at $50. I will cast extremely powerful Heka Obsession love spell, starting at $70. I will look into your future using psychic gifts, starting at $20. I will open your third eye and give you psychic abilities, starting at only $35. Even though this is a problem happening on the internet, it's telling of the issues happening in real life. Con artists posing, or even worse, believing that they are witches. I find this whole phenomenon really morally and ethically gray, since people usually resort to these kinds of services if they've exhausted every possible solution, often spending much more money than the amounts I just mentioned. Witchcraft itself has developed into a very lucrative economy in countries such as Romania, Russia, and some other post-Soviet countries. And a big part of that is due to the fact that the separation between church and state was or still is a big issue. If you're a Slavic person, you know about the popular Russian TV show Battle of the Psychics, where several phony psychics battle out in phony psychic competitions. It's really entertaining, but it's leading people to think that they could pay €500 to a witch and then she'll fix all of their problems. The people in these countries aren't always the best educated, and believing in the occult and macabre is usually a very human thing. And we've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, until we started drinking the science Kool-Aid. But for example, I think that if you do believe in witchcraft, it's totally fine if it's something you do in your personal time to self-reflect, manifest a better life for yourself. That's totally fine. Even the concept of witchcraft as a product is more ethical, because you're only selling magic candles, crystals, tarot cards, and other witchy memorabilia, which isn't so problematic, because it's almost the same as buying a lottery ticket. Maybe something will come of this, maybe not, but if not, at least I didn't sell my kidney for it, you know? So guys, I could really talk about this forever because there's so many different types of magic and so many different ways people manifest magic, but I just thought it would be interesting to talk with someone who's on the low side of magic, who's just dabbling in it. So I invited my friend Pien Keijzer to talk with me about how she's dabbling in tarot cards and why it's interesting. So let's just jump into it. How did you become an enthusiast on tarot cards specifically?
Well, throughout pop culture, you encounter the concept of tarot cards every now and then in your life, and I always found it really cool, really like kind of mystic, kind of like, ooh, what's that? The secrets of the tarot cards. And then it occurred to me that you can just buy a set and start learning on the internet. I was like, wow, that's epic. I'm gonna do that. So I guess I was kind of drawn to the whole what does it mean of it, right? Because you see I remember you see Now You See Me, that magician fucking movie. We allowed to swear? Yeah.
Yeah, we're allowed to swear.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, that magician movie.
That's right. Yeah.
Now you see they all get a card. One gets like death, I think. One is like the high priestess, and I'm like, ooh, that looks cool. That looks fun. I want to get into that, and that's kind of how I got into that.
Okay, and is it difficult? Does it take a lot of time to read through everything, learn everything?
Well, so the thing is, there's 78 different cards, right? So it is a lot to take in, and I wouldn't even say that I know the definition of all the cards by heart. There is a sort of structure to it. There's so every tarot deck is 78 cards, and it's split up into two parts. One is the major arcana, one is the minor arcana. And the major arcana are all the cards that I just mentioned. The cards are like the devil and death, and I've got them right here. I've got my beautiful
oh wow,
LSD
cool.
tarot deck. This is really beautiful. I want to shout out to Oliver Hibbert. I don't know how to say his name.
I think I'll just mention him in the podcast description.
In the show notes. Yes.
Yeah.
Stunning cards. So and those are they're all numbered, right? So they're numbered 0 is the Fool. It's kind of like the major arcana is the Fool's journey, right? The Fool is you. The Fool is all of us. We're all fools traveling through life. And then it kind of, but I have to say I haven't studied the major arcana that much yet. I kind of started with the suits. I'm still kind of stuck there. So all I know is about that they're all supposed to. The major arcana is supposed to represent all these big, life-changing lessons and moments that many lives have in common. And then there's the minor arcana that's split up into 4 suits. It's kind of like a regular deck of cards, right? There's people that have done tarot for a really long time, and they can just lay a deck of cards out and know by heart, fucking 5 of hearts, that's this one. Like, oh shit. So that's really impressive. But there's 4 different suits, and each suit stands for a different, I guess, aspect of life. So there's cups. Cups is for emotions, and with the element of water. Well, like, generally emotions. And then there's wands, and wands always kind of confuses me because it's tied to the element of fire. And I think it's like passion and creativity, something like that. And then there's pentacles, which is the little coin shape. That's the suit for material things. And there's the swords, which is the suit for rational thought and ideas. And in that way, you can sort of structure it out. And then for each number, there's also kind of a general meaning per deck, so you can sort of cross-reference it like that. However, it is still a lot of just sitting there and remembering what each card is exactly, but also giving your own interpretation about it, right?
Yeah. So, for example, sorry if I...
Oh, sure, yeah, no.
But one of my cousins was really into the whole tarot cards thing, but she was really deep into it. Like, she was an expert pro, and she got into it because her mother, my aunt, she was also super into it. So the both of them were always like giving me these tarot card readings, and what they would always say before every reading, what I found really ethical, even though I don't necessarily believe any of this stuff, I find it really interesting to just look into it, just like see what's there. Yeah. And they would always say, this is not me giving you your reading, this is the cards giving you your reading. And I am the bridge between you and the cards, and I'm just an interpreter, and stuff like that. So
I'm guessing your family is takes more of the spiritual angle to tarot cards, right?
some people do, yeah, some do. I'm more of a position that I don't necessarily think that it's true or it's like scientifically based or anything, but I just think it helps people give self-reflection.
Yeah.
Mainly.
Yeah, exactly. Because even if it's not, because we're obviously not laying out the future in the cards, right? That's kind of a far stretch to make. But I would argue it is very important to read with someone that you're comfortable with, and you're comfortable speaking with, because at the same time, it's also just an examining of usually a problem. Like usually I'll lay out cards when I encounter something in my life, and I'm like, I'm having a hard time doing this, and I would like to see what the cards say, quote unquote, like what the cards say. But I do feel like these cards have some important themes, and they can help you see, how does what I feel fit into what I'm seeing in front of me right now, and how can that help me?
Yeah. And how do you react if you, let's just say, get some news or reflections from the cards that maybe might be bad, or you might not know, like, what does this mean? What to do now,
Oh, all the time. I'll be like, what does it mean? What does it mean? And you're just, I don't know, even when you're reading a meaning from the internet, you'll still, sometimes it just doesn't fit at all. And sometimes you sort of keep that card with you, right? You keep mulling it over, and it'll make sense later. Like later something will happen. It's like, oh, that's that. And that's also really, really interesting to see. But yeah, sometimes you really just don't know. It's also about, it's practice, right? You have to practice. It's kind of like exercising your brain, your mind to be reflective, and yeah.
Okay.
It comes more with experience, and I'm not that experienced yet, I have to say.
Yeah.
I'd like to be.
Yeah. And I was just like wondering, so what do you think about magic as a service, specifically right now, tarot cards? So for example, like giving it out as a service to people.
I don't know. I don't really mess with like that type of. I don't really mess with that side of tarot or magic in general. I wouldn't call myself like a witch or practitioner. There's nothing I do besides study the tarot cards that could be considered remotely witchy. I do feel like tarot card sessions can be therapeutic in a way. And helpful, even though it's not an actual message from the spirits. I don't know. It can just be a nice conversation and a nice heart to heart, right? Because that's also something that you're doing. You're not just asking the cards a question and then receiving what's coming from it. You're sitting with a person and you're, I don't know,
talking about your problems. Yeah.
It's like a bonding time. Like I personally don't like giving out readings to random people. I'd rather do it with close friends. Because then you know the person. You can feel more comfortable opening up a little bit, even though that's not necessary. I've been watching some of the YouTube channel I just mentioned does readings on stream as well. And he has one uploaded where the guy doesn't want to disclose exactly what his problem is, but he can still relay a message to him, so that's really interesting. But I think that's kind of limiting. I don't know. I just really like the conversation part about it, right? You can just sort of spitball and sit down with someone and talk about life a little bit, but guided in a structured way, in a way that's like, so there's these pictures. How does that make you feel? This is what it means. How does that make you feel? What did you expect?
So, for example, when I would get a reading from my cousin in real life, she would say, you have to spread your energy on the cards. You have to shift them around. You're like sending your body's energy or whatever towards them. And, online, that doesn't really happen. So do you think this is like affecting the legitimacy of it or not really?
I don't know. I don't think so, because I personally don't really like. I used to let people do that. Like I would let people shuffle my deck to sort of get a bit of their energy into the deck or something. But that was more for flavor than that I thought it really made a difference. Because sometimes it's just nice to have little rituals around your decks, right? Like I keep mine in silk, and I only usually put them out on, very clean spaces. Take a little care of it. And it's nice to have a little starting ritual. Like, remember when we did the creative sessions in school? We had to start with the icebreaker to get people
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
in the mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. You give them a little. All right, think about what you want to know. Think about what you want to hear. Think about your situation, your problem, and then when you're ready, we're gonna start talking about it.
So those rituals per se aren't exactly something out of superstition, but more something to get people into the mood.
To me, yeah.
Yeah.
And not just people, also myself, right? Not just the person I'm reading for.
And here's like a big existential question, probably. So, do you think that there is actually any, let's just say, spiritual or like otherworldly force like giving the answers through the cards, or do you think it's just us humans projecting our human needs for answers? And
definitely that last option, but I don't think that makes it any less, to me that doesn't make it any less mystical, right?
Yeah.
To me it's really the, because I'm not a spiritual person, I'm not a religious person, I'm here, I'm alive, and I think tarot cards are really cool and a good way of reflecting on your life, and that's why I use them. It's a little, I don't know. So for one, it's a reflective self-help tool almost, and for the other, it's just to add a little spice to existence.
Yeah. I was just wondering, since we're not religious like our grandparents or parents were, maybe we're just trying to fill the void with some kind of other made-up belief system, you know?
I mean, it's always tempting, right? The idea of tarot cards, I think, is tempting to a lot of people, and for sure was tempting to me, because it poses some sort of answer. Like it poses some sort of it can give some kind of answer, and that's interesting. That's interesting for a lot of people. A lot of people want answers. And I don't know about the whole we're falling from religion, and like I don't know how to answer that question, but at least for me, I can definitely see the alluring effect of having a magical set of cards give the solution for you. But it's really more than that.
Yeah.
And also less than that. There's no solutions in the cards. I'm sorry, guys.
Are you acquainted with different types of tarot cards? So there's not only like tarot cards, there's other cards. I can't really tell you the names.
Oh, like geez, what are those called again? It's like spirit cards or fae cards or something like that. I'm not really. There's a lot of different divination decks like this, or that form like a similar thing, but they're slightly different. Like I had a friend who had like a forest card, like every card had a forest animal on it, and it was really cool at first, but then she said all the cards were too foresty, you know, I needed something more focused on my life, you know, and that's really interesting. I really think that it can be really cool to find a deck that really resonates with you, because I of course I first started with a really basic deck, just like the vanilla basic one, because they're relatively cheap and you really don't know how serious you're going to take this hobby, so might as well start with the basics. But I don't know, I saw this deck and I'd seen it a long time ago, and I only got it this year. For the listeners, here's a little description. It's a lot of rainbows. It's a lot of very wavy, drippy, I'd say like 70s psychedelic fashion. But they're the same. They're the same drawings in essence as the regular deck ones.
But I guess it just adds like a personal touch to the deck, I guess.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've seen readings online where people use multiple types of decks to fill different slots in a reading, right? To give more context. Because sometimes these cards, I don't know. Sometimes you pull a card and it just says something like, "You're financially stable," and it's like, Okay, I need more context. I don't, it can just be like really, really narrow. Also, there's a lot of the cards have a bunch of different meanings, and it's really dependent on the context. So in order to give that context, you can use multiple different decks. Or sometimes I've seen people when they're confused about a card, they just pull another card. Like, hey, what does this mean? Let's put another one next to that and see if that enlightens anything.
Okay.
Yeah, but you can definitely use different decks for the same reading.
Then I think we're done with discussing, but if you'd like, we could try doing a reading, or
Yeah,
yeah.
we'll see how it goes. So I promised you a reading about the podcast, right?
Yeah, the future of the podcast, or should it be more specific?
Future of the podcast. Well, I was looking at different spreads today that I can do. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. 3-card spread. I've only never done 3-card spread because they're easy, pretty easy. All right. Yes, 3-card tarot spreads for the future. So, one spread that I see is so the first card is where you stand now, the second is what you aspire to, and the third is how to get there.
Ooh.
I don't know if you have any high aspirations with this podcast.
I think I do. I think I'm trying to have high aspirations, so we could try that layout.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. All right. So tell me about why did you start this podcast in the first place? What was your vision for the Lifi podcast with Armandas Aksomaitis?
Well, I always just listen to podcasts. I used to work night shifts, and they would be usually 7 or 8 hours a shift. And at some point, you just need something to listen to not go crazy. And you know, I'm not gonna be watching videos while I work, you know. So it's either audiobooks or podcasts, you know. So I got really into podcasts, and sometimes I just personally felt like I would like to discuss a topic for an hour, you know, with someone. But there's not always a situation where you can just discuss for an hour about, like, let's just say witches, you know, because you have to facilitate that conversation. So this podcast for me usually is the facilitation of, let's just say, a topic that I'm interested in the moment or something. So yeah.
A little excuse for you to talk about things that interest you with people that are semi-knowledgeable on the topic, in my case.
Yeah, semi-knowledgeable. And it's also just a nice medium for me to do some research, because we did do a research bachelor. So it's just a nice way of just researching stuff. And then maybe I can use it on my portfolio one day and say, look, here's my pseudo research that I've done, like, you know.
Doesn't the tag pseudo research bother you a little? Like, doesn't it concern you? What does pseudo research mean?
So I wanted to call it research, but then I just thought, okay, this is too serious. You know, I don't know if I want to take myself that serious, you know? And I just felt, you know, sometimes I would like to have a really serious episode, and sometimes I would like to have an episode where I'm just talking about not November, you know. I don't think that's like super serious, you know. So
the variety show.
Yeah, so that's why I opted for the pseudoscience.
All right. So that's kind of what your intentions were when you started this podcast. Now I know that you started making merch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's getting announced on this episode, so...
Spoilers! I'm so sorry, guys.
So the idea is that I have a friend that is an artist, and I asked her to collaborate with me, so I would be doing most of, let's just say, the marketing and the editing and the scripting and all that. And she would help me by making monthly arts based on the podcast theme. Yeah, and we would make those into stickers, little books, little like posters. If you want, some people could probably like get them on t-shirts. I'm not sure yet if I want them on t-shirts, but we'll see. And
so you have big plans.
Yeah, I'm trying to branch out. Yeah.
And where do you see it going? Do you have any concrete goals?
I don't know, because I have a plan of just getting as much viewers or listeners, let's just say, as possible in the coming year.
Yeah.
Both by doing some marketing, because we're gonna print a lot of stickers and put them all over the cities so that people would see them. And they would be like, whoa, that looks like a nice sticker. I don't know if I like that sticker or the podcast more. So, and
Exactly.
I don't know if I want this to be, let's just say, a full-time job. We'll see in the future.
But it's a nice project for now.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what the cards have to say. So I'm going to put the 3 cards down first. And okay, so the first card is where you stand now. What do you feel like you stand now in regards to this podcast? Because it's pretty new. I think this is the 3rd or 4th episode?
Fourth.
Fourth, right.
I feel like I'm standing, let's just say, in a small area, let's just say, because there's not that much listeners, but like a nice amount. Like usually we get from 60 to 100 listens per episode if it's a good episode. And that's not a lot, but you have 60 to 100 people listening to you for 30 minutes.
That's more people that listen to me.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't get any brand deals right now or anything like that. Like, I've tried applying, but they said,
and that is something you would want.
If I did get brand deals, that would just mean that, there's a little bit like a financial substitution for the time that I just spend of my own accord, because it takes time, sometimes, and having some kind of financial benefit back would be a nice incentive, but it's not necessary. And I'm also thinking of just applying for some culture grants through some culture websites, for like example in Lithuania or in the Netherlands. But we'll see.
All right. In the meantime, I've gone ahead and flipped your cards. So the first card we have is where you stand now, and this is the 4 of Wands. Look at these little happy skeleton people underneath their staffs of eyeballs and drippy flowers. Alright, so the 4 of Wands is actually a really positive card. Let me pull up. I'm also just reading from the internet because I don't know everything. Yeah, 4 of Wands. It's a very relaxed and actually really kind of almost celebratory card, right? I'm guessing you're pretty proud of this podcast so far. I'm thinking you're
so far, yeah,
you're seeing big things. You're working on your merch, and that's something we're celebrating. This is something really cool you're doing right now.
Okay.
That is what the 4 of Wands says.
Yes.
All right, then your second card is the 9 of Cups, and that would be what you aspire to. Yeah, that's what it is. What you aspire to. Let's see, the Suit of Cups. This is a pretty good one as well. So Cups is representative of emotions, and as you can see right here, I'm sorry, I'm looking through. Oh yeah, there we go. As you can see right here, we have a little satisfied little man sitting beneath his 9 cups that are fulfilled, and he's kind of sitting there showing it off, being proud, like, hell yeah, this is what I did. This is cool as hell. And I'm proud of it. Look at him sit there.
Yeah, cool.
Right?
Cool.
Yeah, so this person in this card, he's feeling a lot of fulfillment from the thing that he's doing. And I wish that for you as well. I hope this podcast becomes what you want it to and what it has in mind. So how to get there is the last one. Ooh, that's interesting. And the last one is the, what is that? 6 of Swords? No, 7 of Swords. I'm bad at counting. These are Roman numerals. I have to think for a second. Ooh, what is this? How to get there? You know what this card means? Let me show you, actually. That's what it looks like.
Oh, he has a lot of stuff carrying. Oh, okay.
He's carrying a bunch of swords. And the Suit of Swords is representative of ideas and thoughts. And this card is usually linked to being sneaky
Mm-hmm.
So that's really interesting. You gotta be sneaky.
Mm.
You gotta be sneaky to get a successful podcast. No, JK. There we go. Ooh. Alright. So, Seven of Swords points out that you need to be strategic in what you do. Right? This is supposedly in the normal card where you see this little mushroom village here is like an enemy camp, I think is what it means. And this guy
Okay.
is stealing the other enemy's swords. Stealing the
Oh,
enemy's
wow.
swords. That's kind of what
Okay.
it means. But the sword stands for like thoughts and ideas and stuff. So I think from what I'm reading here is be strategic about
Mm.
it. Be smart.
Follow the trends. Don't be
Follow the
original.
trends. Don't be original. Yeah. Maybe something like that actually. How do you feel
Maybe.
about that?
I don't know. I'm trying to somewhat follow some trends that I see, but I don't try to necessarily hold it at a huge regards. So, for example, on the month of November, I did do a No Not November podcast, but I don't think that many people are talking about No Not November. But it's a meme, so it should get a good amount of listens. Then,
Yeah.
I did a coronavirus episode just because the topic of vaccines was really topical, and I just thought, you know what, it's topical, but it's also very educational. People need to hear this, so.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that's what the cards are trying to encourage then, to stay current, be smart about the topics that you work about, be smart about be strategic about where you put your stickers in the around town.
Sure.
Yeah. All in all, this is a very nice reading.
Yeah.
Well, these are nice cards. These are nice and positive cards for you.
Yeah, very positive, very positive.
Yeah.
And is there maybe like a quick reading from one card that we could do for the viewers, the listeners?
For the listeners at home, yeah, sure. I'll pull a card. Hold on. Pick a card, any card. Wait, let me just give them a quick shuffle. I'll hold up 3 cards and you can pick one for the listener at home. All right?
Okay.
I like to get a little interaction going.
Okay.
Oh shit! Ooh, this one jumped out. That's interesting. No, actually, this one jumped out. I want to grab this one.
Okay, let's do that.
That's a great one. It's a very nice one. This is the 10 of Cups. So it's one. I think I just pulled the 9 of Cups for you, right? And the 9 of Cups is already great. And then the 10 of Cups. Let me just quickly scroll back to my sources here. The 10 of Cups stands for like absolute bliss, dudes. Blissful relationship, harmony, happiness, friends, family, all of that. So in times of loneliness and desperation, that is called the pandemic, that is still happening. I hope for you all that you find your friends and somehow manage to live a semi-fulfilling social life.
So what you're saying, that if my viewers, my listeners, subscribe to the cult of the Lifi podcast, they will get friends, company, blissfulness, happiness, everything they ever wanted.
Everything they ever wanted.
I love that for them. Okay.
That's what it is, you guys. You get extra lucky if you find a Lifi podcast sticker in the wild.
Yeah.
That means double bliss for you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, okay then. Well then, really thank you for visiting the podcast and just giving me and my viewers a reading. And I'd like to just ask, do you have anything to plug? Do you want to say something for the last words or something?
I would like to plug the YouTube channel. It's called Practical Divination. They also have a website, but that one is just to book readings and do that. They have a podcast. No, it's not a podcast. It's a live stream about tarot cards, practical and secular divination. If you think tarot cards are interesting, but you're not really spiritual, just give it a little watch. Yeah. Very interesting. He's a lot more knowledgeable than I am. So please go visit his channel. He also has all the card definitions up, like little videos that'll walk you through every suit. Yeah. That's that. Bye.
So thank you for listening to the end, guys. I really hope that you got something from this podcast episode. And as you heard during the podcast interview, I am starting my very own merch. It's very small things. I'm gonna partner up with a friend that's also an artist. If you're interested, I'll leave her Instagram in the podcast description. And both of us are just gonna draw different stickers each month so that you would have something to buy if you so wish to. And there's not only gonna be stickers, there's gonna be cups, posters, little books with the logo of the podcast, just for some variety if you so wish to. And a nice benefit of buying something from my Redbubble store is that once you buy something, you'll be forwarded a link to a Google sheet where you can just enter what kind of topic would you like me to cover next in the podcast. So you're not only buying a token, you're also participating in the further direction of the episodes. So if you so wish to, go buy some. I'll leave a link in the description on YouTube or in the description of my Spotify or just any description that is on the platform that you're listening to. So thanks for listening and I'll see you next month. Bye!